An African, especially with Ghanaian roots, you may have come across the Adinkra symbols. I have with me a copy of a book called The Adinkra Alphabet, and the author, Dr. Crunchy, has translated these symbols into alphabets. He's here right with me, and he's going to be explaining the whole idea behind this. Welcome, Dr. Charles Crunchy.
Thank you.
Great. So tell me, what exactly fostered the thought of this book?
Well, the book is about the title is Adinkra Alphabet, and essentially it shows the Adinkra symbols in an alphabet form. So I started the book actually. It first started more as a virtue principles that I was writing down myself for myself, and that was somewhere in 2009, and then I started replacing that with the Adinkra symbols because they have those characteristics of good virtues with them. And so when I started writing down the symbols, then I realized you could actually make the symbols into an alphabet. So the book, there are 28 symbols that were used into making the Adinkra alphabet, and so there are 28 characters, and that has the 26 English characters and also two characters for A and O.
Why did you want to replace or use the symbols for alphabets?
So what I realized that with the good thing about the Adinkra alphabet system is to improve communication. So with Adinkra symbol is is well known in Ghana and other parts of West Africa, and with people are familiar with it. They see it on paintings and buildings, on advertising billboards. So what I did is that in the book you see that I used very familiar and common symbols in creating the characters, so that symbol like Adinkra Hene is it's for alphabet A, which is and it starts with the letter A. You have Jinyame for letter G, and you have Sankofa for letter S, Pimpamsie for letter P. So with this, literacy just means the ability to be able to read and write. So by people already being familiar with the symbols, so in that sense, it will instantly improve, literacy rate in Ghana. It will improve communication because people will be able to, write with it. And then that will bring more understanding between people, and also will encourage more people to be able to write, compared to using the English alphabet.
Now, locally, we have different languages, and all the languages have their own symbols when it comes to writing. Now, you're introducing the Adinkra alphabets. Ultimately, what's your aim?
So if you, that's a good question. So we have, various languages in Ghana. All of them are actually written with the Latin or the English alphabet. So they are actually not written with a lot of alphabet. It's all the Latin alphabet that they are used. The aim of the book, using the Adinkra alphabet, is using characters that people are familiar with, so that people are more able to write with it. They are more able to understand it. And as you learn to write with it, you realize that you can actually read faster with the Adinkra alphabet, because the characters are more familiar to you. So you see development, human development with the Adinkra alphabet when people use that than using the Latin characters that are not familiar with them.
You've mentioned about familiarity, but I think it's more like a generational thing. It's the older people who know more about the Adinkra symbol and even what it means. It's something that is not really taught at the junior level, and so quite a number of the youth and young people do not know the symbols. So how are you going to educate people with this?
Adinkra, like myself, I mean, you learn about Adinkra symbols, but in school you may learn a few of them through cultural studies, but not very much, not in depth, or not what they mean, what they represent, and you not how to communicate with it. But then, beside that, most youths are familiar with at least one or two characters. They've seen it around. It's an oral tradition that we've had for generations. So it's not a written tradition, but we we teach it. We're taught by it's being used on billboards. It's being used if you go to palaces. They have the symbols displayed there. They communicate with it. So it's an oral tradition. In this way, we are actually moving it from an oral tradition into a written tradition. For instance, writing a word like justice, EPA means justice, and so you could just use the Adinkra symbol EPA for that, or you could write a whole word justice with the Adinkra characters, and people will there will be a much understanding. There is a connection. People will feel a connection with that than writing it with the English characters.
Another thing I realized in the book was that you didn't use the exact symbols or the drawings with the alphabets. You used your own. Don't you think there will be some sort of conflicts? People wouldn't know the precise one to use.
That's a good question too. So the Adinkra alphabet is different from the Adinkra symbols, but it is very similar to it. The Adinkra alphabet was derived from the Adinkra symbols. Okay. With the symbol, you draw a symbol, but you write a character. Okay. So that's kind of the slight difference there. So a symbol like Adinkra hine, you have to draw two big circles with a big dot in the center. But with the character, you just write two circles with a dot. So it's just like moving from three dimension to just a 2-dimension, actually more from actually a 2D to a 1D, because you just instead of having so in that case it's easier to write with it, versus just drawing the characters. Then it's going to take you a long time to just write a sentence with the symbols. So the alphabets are different, slightly different, because they were just modified without losing the aesthetic view of the symbol, to be able to make it easy for people to write with it.
How do you intend to introduce it to children?
So we have a writing book that children can use to write to learn how to write the Adinkra alphabet.
Okay.
So the writing book actually has faint characters that they can trace on, and then also there is a space where they can write down their own characters. And you can start to introduce the book to your children. Some will start introducing them as early as 3. I have someone who has started introducing the book to his child at 3 years, and also most kids will start writing characters at age 5, and so you can also introduce it around that age.
So is the book like the books we used when we were young, something like the My First Copy books?
It is very similar to that. So it's just a writing book where you have the characters that are faded, and then some of them you trace on them, and then after you learn how to trace on the characters, then you can start writing your own characters.
So have you had any discussions with the authorities, to say the Ministry of Education and probably tourism, just to broaden your scope about this?
Yep. So we are making this. This is an effort that we are making, and as you know, this is currently an election year, so it's been difficult to do that. But we have T-shirts, that has that has the character. We also have stamps, with the with the alphabets that children can use, and it can form like a project, like a cultural project that children can use. But we hope that the Ministry of Education will embrace it and support it, and nurture it, and so that what I want to see is every Ghanaian be able to understand the characters, the symbols, be able to use it and be able to write with it. And so that's the aim, so that in general we understand each other more, we communicate better, and to do that we need the support of all. We've gotten a lot of support on Facebook. We have videos on YouTube, and also we have our website, that people can also go to and look at the characters, www.adinkraalphabet.com.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Charles Crunchy.
Yeah, thank you.
Right.